friends. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's been literally like a month, and the overachiever in me hates that with every ounce of my being, but life has just been busy. I honestly think that with my deficit, for those of you who are new here, for those of you who are new here, first off, hi, my name is Alexis and I am an aspiring author. I'm currently sharing my journey to becoming a published author, traditionally published author, with you here on YouTube. But I also have been in a calorie deficit for the last 86 days. I have been attempting to lose weight just to get to my healthiest self. Like that's really what it boils down to is I just want to feel the best that I can in the skin that I'm in, and I'm down almost 15 pounds. I've got 4 more days of this calorie deficit, and then I'm going to take a little break, probably about a month or so, depending on how I'm feeling, and then jump back in. And I'm doing good. Like I'm doing well. However, what I was going to say is between now and the last video that I released, those weeks were tough for multiple different reasons. I was uh, still recovering from my surgery. My son was recovering from his surgery. I was right in the thick of this deficit, and my scale wasn't budging there for a hot minute, and I was just feeling really down about it. And I don't know, there was just like a lot of stuff going on, and mentally, I wasn't as fortified as I wish that I would have been. I tend to get really down on myself. That mixed with the fact that like business has been slow for Studio Lex, which I don't say that looking for pity. I know I'm not the only small business owner feeling it, but it's just been like a lot of things on my plate, honestly. And I would say that I'm very high functioning, regardless of the situation I'm in. If I'm under pressure, I do well. If I'm anxious, I still do well. But I think we all reach a limit, and I think I reached mine. And vlogging just had to take the back burner, which, like I said at the beginning, I hate that I've been absent for a month, but I really just needed to take that time to not worry about it. So I'm really glad that I took some space. We just added a puppy to our family. I will introduce Hera at some point during this video. She's a little German Shepherd puppy. So between her and my toddler, I've been staying very busy. But even though I've been absent here on the channel, I have still been making moves with Project Hourglass. So again, if you're new here, Project Hourglass is the novel that I'm working on. It is a fantasy. I don't think I can call it a romantasy. I thought I was. I don't think I can. There is a romance subplot, but I think the book could stand without the romance, so I don't think it's technically a romantasy. But anyway, it follows my main protagonist, Eris Ravenar, as she is embarking on a mission to save her kingdom from a mysterious blight. So I've been working on that. I am 10 chapters deep into draft 2. I actually, during my hiatus from YouTube, I've also been working on minor edits of those chapters, which is also part of why I haven't been vlogging. I've honestly been really struggling with a negative mindset, and I'm really trying to work through this. For context, I love goals. I love having goals. I love having projects. I love accomplishing things. It fills my cup. If you're familiar with the Enneagram system, I talk about it quite frequently on my channel. But I'm a 3, the achiever. It's deeply rooted within my being. And I think the problem with writing a book, and people say that it's a lonely process. And at first, I did not understand that because 1, I have a writing partner. 2, I'm sharing on social media, and I get a lot of, very supportive comments on there and that sort of thing. But for me, I think what makes writing lonely, and maybe lonely isn't quite the right way to describe it, is that my love language is words of affirmation. As an Enneagram 3, and just as a person in general. Like, external validation is really important to me. And I recognize that we cannot be externally validated about everything at every moment. And at some point, we have to be able to validate ourselves. And it's something that I've been working on. However, with writing a book, there is so much self-doubt that can get entangled into the process. And for me, that self-doubt is usually taken care of by getting some sort of validation. But outside of my writing partner, and we meet once a week, and she actually hasn't made it to my second draft yet. She's wrapping up my first draft. But outside of my writing partner, there's no one else reading my story regularly to tell me, hey, yes, this is coming together, this is great, or even giving me constructive criticism, feedback. It doesn't have to be all compliments, but it's sort of just, getting a feel for, is this something that you want to read? Yes or no? And what do I need to do to improve it? Or is it good as it is? I don't know if I'm making sense. I hope that I'm making sense. So it's not that I'm just looking for praise. It's just looking for some sort of direction to go off of based on the feedback, and not in the sense of like, tell me what my story should be about, tell me what I should write next, but just the confirmation that I'm headed in the right direction is something that really helps me stay grounded. But I think, again, that's kind of where it comes down to being able to internally validate yourself and push through. And to my credit, and I have to remind myself of this, I literally have to remind myself that I do this. I push forward. I keep going. I don't just quit. I don't bail, even if I'm feeling kind of these yucky feelings inside. But that has definitely been a struggle as I've been editing my chapters 1 through 10. So far, I've liked all of them except for chapter 5. I'm currently working on the rewrite, and it is going really, really well. I feel like when I can kind of get clarity and I decide, hey, this is just part of the process. Writing a book, like, you're going to have multiple drafts. Don't make it personal. Don't make it like, oh, this chapter wasn't good, you suck. Like, if I can break through the spiral of negativity, then I do okay. And like I said, the rewrite of chapter 5 has been going great. Yes, I'm going to have to now rewrite the following chapters, or the chapters that follow it, but that's okay. It's not that they were bad. There's some bones there, but I'm just going to have to restructure some things. Eris's interaction with a major character is totally different than how I wrote it the first time, and it's way better. It's way more true to the situation and to that other character's personality and all the things that are going on. But it just took me so long to get to the point that I could recognize that, my whole book isn't bad. My whole story doesn't need to be thrown in the bin. Chapter 5 just wasn't where it needed to be. And I can rewrite it. And when I rewrite it, it will be better. Because I think where I was getting stuck is the fact that I needed a rewrite, and I knew it needed to be fully rewritten. I played around with some of the elements, and I just realized this isn't where the story needs to go. But what happens to me is the fact that it needed a rewrite, I took it so hard. Like, oh man, I just suck at this. And, what's wrong with me? And writing the second draft has been taking me longer than writing my first draft because I'm trying to be more intentional. There's details that I know now. It's not just getting the story on the page. Now I am trying to make the story truly come to life and have a body so that it has feet it can stand on. And it's just different. I think that's what it boils down to, is that it's different, and I've never done anything like this before, and that's okay. But I need to be okay with being uncomfortable and trusting the process. And it's been interesting too, when I set out to write this book, I was writing it with the intention of, I want to prove to myself that I can finish a book start to end and not get all crazy perfectionisty about it, right? Because that's something I tend to do. I just wanted to have fun with it, and I did have fun with it. But when I wrote the end on my first draft, that feeling of, oh my gosh, I just wrote a book, those feelings eventually kind of go away. I mean, I still am proud of myself and I am still excited that I did the thing I set out to do. But now in draft 2, the goal of just finishing a book is no longer a thing because I've already done that. I've already checked that off my list. And so now we're in the nitty-gritty of we're writing the book with the intention to publish. So there's a lot more that goes into this. There's a lot more nurturing of the manuscript that has to happen. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love writing. And that's why I'm continuing to do it. And that's why I haven't just said, I finished my goal. I wrote a book. I did what I set out to do. I'm done. No, because now I want to see it all the way through. But again, the excitement that fueled finishing my first draft is no longer the same excitement that can fuel my second draft. And so I've had to become crystal clear on my goal and remembering what I'm doing here in the sense of, my finish line is not the same as it was before. And so that's been tricky too, and I don't have friends who are published authors who have been through this before that I can go to and say, hey, I'm in the thick of this right now. This is what I'm feeling. Is this normal? Like I don't have friends like that at the moment. My writing partner is incredible, but we will both be debut authors. This is our first time going through this. And so we are experiencing a lot of the same things at the same time. And there is a place for that. And it's so helpful to be able to process it out loud with someone else who gets it. But I'm missing that person who's steps ahead of me, who's been here and done this and can say, hey, you're good. This is normal. Keep going. And so I'm having to be that person for myself, and I'm not good at that. I'm not good at being that person for myself, but I'm just continuing to try and practice and show up. And at the end of the day, this project matters enough to me. There's no quitting in my field of vision. There's nothing like that. But again, when it comes to sharing my journey and especially vlogging it, taking the time to record during the slivers of free time that I get having a toddler and a puppy and a big kid and all the responsibilities of being a stay-at-home mom on top of running a small business, it can feel daunting when I'm kind of in that harder place in my mind. I want to come on this channel and be encouraging. I started this channel sort of as accountability for myself, but mainly I just wanted to show you, like, if I can do it, you definitely can do it too. Like, I feel like we all need that reminder that it's okay and it is worth it to chase our dreams, because I feel like in this day and age, we're just taught to like put our head down, go to work, make the money, pay the bills, eat, sleep, repeat. And while, yes, that's important, 100%, I am not saying it's not. I just want to get back to a place where I feel okay about dreaming again. I feel like I lost a lot of that, as I entered adulthood, and then now I'm approaching my 30s, and I want to find that again, and I want to share that. Like I said, I just think we need a little bit more of that whimsy in our life. But then I feel a little bit like a fraud when I'm chasing my dream and I'm struggling, and then I'm supposed to show up and have encouragement to give you, even though I know that's not necessarily why you watch my channel. But that's how I feel on the inside. And so that kind of holds me back a little bit too from pressing record. But I think at the end of the day, I'm just trying to very clearly and vulnerably share my journey to authorhood with you. And that's going to include times like this where I'm driving the struggle bus, or maybe I'm getting off the struggle bus, but it'll come back around. It will. There's no avoiding it, and that's okay, because you can still do the damn thing even if you're struggling. You can keep putting one foot in front of the other, and that's what I'm reminding myself is just because you're having a hard time doesn't mean that it won't get better. Or just because you're struggling with something like a chapter rewrite, or even just figuring out, where you need to take your project, whatever that project may be. Just because it's hard doesn't mean that you're bad at it. And I think that's a big one for me. I need to remind myself, just because there are things that could be improved or changed, or I have hiccups along the way, that doesn't mean that I'm bad. That doesn't mean that I can't get better. That doesn't mean I'm not worthy of becoming a traditionally published author like I want to be. That's what I mean when I say don't make it personal. And again, I'm talking to myself here. Don't make it so personal. Whatever you're chasing in your life, there's probably skills associated with it, and you can learn skills. And practice, time, all of those things will always outbeat talent at some point. So again, don't make it personal. I'm not saying talent doesn't play a part, but anyone can learn a skill. And writing is a skill, and that's what I'm reminding myself is the more I write, the better I get. And there you have it. But I think too, sometimes there's this pressure of getting it right the first time. This kind of, at least for me, there's this deep rooted sense of ideology. I don't know if that's the right word. There's this desire to kind of, I don't know, like be a prodigy or something. It sounds so lame saying it out loud. I feel so gross saying that out loud, but it's true. And I felt that I have struggled with that mindset since I was a kid. And for a long time, up until probably my teenage years, if something didn't come naturally to me or I struggled with it, I thought, oh, it just must not be for me, because if it's for me, it should just click. And while, yeah, I definitely think in life we'll have our passions and there will be things that kind of just click for us, that still doesn't mean we're not going to have to learn how to get better or acquire skills to move forward and move on. And I guess I say that just to remind myself and to remind you not to get so hung up if it's not working out the first few times you try it. Just keep going. Keep giving it a shot. If you're enjoying it, that is. If you try something out and you're like, no, this really just isn't for me, I don't want to pursue it, that's different. But as someone who's writing a book, I don't think I could live with myself being as deep into this process as I am and give up just because chapter 5 wasn't what it needed to be. You know what I mean? Or chapter 11 or chapter 25. It doesn't matter. I want to see this all the way through, and I don't want to be the thing that gets in my way. I don't want to be the reason that I don't see this dream through. I think that's probably one of my biggest fears. And so when I kind of get into these negative headspaces and I spiral, and I don't have someone to go to say, you've been through this before, tell me it gets better. Sometimes it will feel like it'll be a never-ending thing, but it's not. These seasons move forward, and when you are willing to push through the negativity, when you're willing to push through the feelings of discomfort, that's when I think we build up the confidence and the experience to realize that these hard times are just seasons. So for example, chapter 5, I was really hung up on it, and I had to I didn't stop editing. I skipped chapter 5 after a while because it just wasn't coming together, and I continued editing, but it was a slog. The words weren't flowing. I just wasn't happy with the overall anything of what was happening. And it all was rooted in chapter 5. Everything before chapter 5 was great. I was very happy with it. Everything after chapter 5, I also enjoyed, but because it was also connected to the chapter that was giving me a problem. And I think instinctively, I promise, I know words. Instinctively, I knew that I had to fix chapter 5 to be able to move forward with my book, but I was stalling, so I was procrastinating. I'm trying to do some minor edits on the other chapters. And again, it's just not coming together. It's 100 words a day I was doing. I mean, I was deleting a lot, which was good. But, as someone who came from doing 1,700 words a day, just that was what my goal was, and I would hit it, to only being able to type out 100 to 200 words. Again, it just kind of added to this feeling that I wasn't doing good enough, and my efforts weren't enough, and yada yada. But after taking enough space from chapter 5 and diving into it with the acceptance that I may have to do a rewrite, that's when everything really changed for me. I wasn't in denial about having to do a rewrite. I wasn't trying to force what I had written to work. And again, that's when everything really started falling into place. And since I started my rewrite, I feel like I've just been in a flow. And so that has been so awesome. Again, I wish the process to getting to that point could have been smoother. And I wish that I didn't have to feel so bummed out the whole time that I was trying to figure it out. But we got through it. And so that's good. And again, as I'm going through this process for myself, I just want to remind you that like you also can get through whatever you're going through. Obviously, I'm talking about writing a book. I'm not talking about anything super deep or traumatic or, emotional in that way. But sometimes it doesn't always have to be like the big bad stuff. Like sometimes it truly is just boiling down to, our self-belief. And I think that's where I struggle with writing this book is believing, like truly believing at my core, like I can do this. And it's like I do. That's why I keep going. But just these in between moments are hard. Anyway, I feel like I'm going in a circle about this topic. I'm a verbal processor, in case you couldn't tell. So hopefully you're, hanging out with me here still. But that's kind of what's been going on in my world is just these edits, trying to juggle a puppy, a toddler, a big kid, 2 cats, and my husband, a small business, and writing my book, and losing weight. And so I'm very, very much looking forward to closing the tab on my deficit for a little while. Like I said, I think I'm going to take a month off, maybe a little bit more. I don't have a fixed timeline for that. Not because I don't want to continue losing weight or anything like that, but just there's so much going on, and I'm really looking forward to having the energy just by eating more to give a little bit more of myself to these other things on my plate. I also am trying to kind of set a timeline goal for my book in the sense that so I mentioned before it's going slower than my first one did. I finished the first draft of my book within about 6 months, and I started writing the second draft in July, so we're coming up on 3 months. I mean, and I'm almost a quarter of the way through, so that's pretty good, but if I continue this pace, then it's going to be about a year before, it's going to take a total of a year to finish draft 2, and I don't want that. It may come down to it, and that's the other thing that I've been trying to work through is accepting that this may take however long it needs to take, but I also feel like I've been dragging my feet a little bit, again, due to this negative headspace and also my deficit, because the time that I would take to write my book was in the evenings. And now, after having a full day of chasing after all of the creatures in my home, plus not getting as much fuel as my body needs, I just have not had the brain power to make this book happen. And so again, that's why I'm really looking forward to my deficit being over, hopefully getting a little bit of that part of myself back. And I think that if I can get back into a consistent writing routine, that I can crank out this book a little bit faster. And it's not that it's a race. I want to make that abundantly clear. It's not a race. I'm not over here like draft 2 needs to be finished within 3 months because, I want to start draft 3. And then after draft 3, I'm planning on querying. It's nothing like that. Like this book is going to take however long this book is going to take. But I want to make sure to hold myself accountable so that I'm not in a position where I'm dragging my feet and I'm making it take longer than it needs to. I think that's my biggest thing is I want to make sure that I'm keeping pace that makes sense and is beneficial both to myself and my manuscript. And I don't want it to, I don't think it's wrong of me to say that I don't want this to take years and years. The publishing industry already moves slow enough. Querying is going to take however long querying takes. And then submission is going to take however long submission is going to take. And then the release date is probably going to be a couple years after that. So I guess, too, I'm just trying to do my due diligence to get this book done, have it as ready as it possibly can be before I query it. So then down the road, by the time it gets into the hands of editors, it is hopefully as sound as I possibly could have made it so that we are not having to spend even more time perfecting it after it gets into the hands of editors. Because I want this manuscript, I want this book, once you have it in your hands to read, I want it to feel polished and loved and nurtured. I don't want it to be one of those things where the comments I get on my work is this needed more time to simmer. You know what I mean? It needed more time being edited or thought through or yada yada. Like, yes, this is my debut novel. Yes, I will write better novels in the future just because I'll have the experience under my belt. But I just really want to feel like the manuscript got everything that I could give it, before it hits shelves. And obviously that's down the road. But again, I'm trying to allow myself space to dream and to be excited about it and to think about my future as a career writer. Yeah. And I do. I get hung up on that a little bit. I feel kind of silly saying it. There's definitely a piece of me that feels like, you're kind of dumb for thinking that's ever going to happen. But then there's just this bigger part of me that's like, no, I've literally wanted this since I was a kid. I kind of let that dream go in the name of growing up. But then here we are. Here we are. And I haven't felt this fulfilled in a really long time. And if you follow me on Instagram, my handle's the same at the Alexis Quinn. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you may have seen the post that I shared about my kids. And, I talk a lot about how I'm a goals-driven girly. It's literally at the core of my being. I own that. Yes, I've made it my identity, blah, blah, blah. I've always been this way, even before kids. But since having kids, it has just lit a fire in me in this way that I realize I'm paving the way for them. No, they may not want to be writers. They may want to do something completely different than me. Maybe they'll be good at math. That would be crazy. But I'm paving the way in the sense that one day when they are chasing their goals and dreams, like I want them to be able to look at me and say, I watched you do it, so I know that I can do it. Like as their mom, that is just the most special thing, I think, to realize that like my kids could potentially be inspired by me getting through doing the hard thing and getting through to the other side. Now, again, like I said, they may choose to do completely different things than I do. And I don't need my kids to be in awe of me or anything like that. But if me seeing this through all the way, not giving up when it gets hard, not getting in my own way, if that one day helps my kids get through their hard seasons, then I've done my job. Like that makes me just feel so happy. And it does. It keeps me going through the hard seasons. It keeps me pushing forward even when I feel like I'm giving 0.5% of myself and I'm like, so yeah. I don't know why I brought that up. That was kind of a little bit of a bunny trail tangent, but these have just been the things that are on my mind. Like I'm not just writing this book for me. A big part of it is for me. A big part of it is for the inner child within myself who wanted to be a published author. But also another big part is for my kids and for my family. And I have a tendency to get in this headspace of like making everything I do a business and profitable and blah, blah, blah. And like, no, I'm very aware that being a writer, some authors make it big and they make a lot of money and that's great. But that's the wonderful thing about writing this book, I think, for myself is it's also been a lesson in doing something without the intention of making money from it. Like, of course, I would love to be published and to get paid and all the things. But because I know how this goes for a lot of writers, it really just, the focus is on just doing the damn thing and seeing it through. And that's really special because, again, for me, it's so easy for me to take something like a hobby and be like, oh my God, how do I monetize this? But I can't do that with this book and I won't get paid until it's done. And so I have to keep going. And that's really cool. That's been a good lesson for me, I think, to learn. But yeah, anyway, as I said before, that's kind of my update. That's where I've been. I've been trying to make more time to read. I finished Ninth House. I posted that a month ago. I didn't really do the deep dive that I intended to do. I kind of did a flyby talk about it. I just finished the second book, Hellbent. I cannot wait for the third book to come out. I was reading that it should come out next year in 2026. I'm looking forward to that so much. I would like to do a video discussing the two because I just thought Leigh Bardugo did such an incredible job writing Alex Stern and writing that world, of Yale and magical societies. And I was flabbergasted. I freaking loved those books. I thought they were so good. If you read them, drop it in the comments. Let me know what you thought about them. And now I tried to pick up The Stars Are Dying by Chloe Pindignara. I am butchering that. I feel so bad. I wish I could see it and then I would do better. I had to put it down. I don't want to DNF it because I hate DNFing things. And I don't want to be hypercritical on the voice and the prose, but because I know it's all just like super subjective. But I was reading it and I got a couple chapters in and I just felt like the whole thing was very flowery, very purple prosy. And I found myself sitting there just feeling like, just say what you mean. Like, just say it. Like, be straight about it. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it was so words are hard. It was so flowery that I found it really, really difficult to get through. I am intrigued by the storyline. I will admit the plot has kind of sunk its claws into me, and I am interested to know what happens next. I'm interested to know more about the characters. But just the prose is going to be a little bit of a struggle. So I may pick it back up, but I also picked up a book. Hang on, it's right in front of me. 1 second. Okay, I actually had these books right here. Okay, so oh yeah, I totally butchered her name. This is the book I'm talking about, The Stars Are Dying by Chloe C. Pinaranda. Probably still butchering that. Sorry. But then I picked up The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington, I think is how you say his last name. And so far it's really good. This was a recommendation from my husband. He's been wanting me to read this for forever and I just haven't gotten around to it, but I've been really wanting to read fantasy that's written in a similar voice to how I'm writing my story, just so I can obviously improve in that way. This was James's debut novel, and if I remember correctly, he indie published this and then it got picked up, it looks like, by Orbit. But like I said, so far I am really enjoying it. I'm not super deep into the book, but I am 25 pages in and I'm enjoying it a lot more than the other book. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been a minute since I've read just like a thick fantasy, and so I think that will really benefit me and my writing. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think I'm gonna leave this video here. Hera is sleeping and I don't want to wake her up, but I will try and get her in the next video, and she is all over my Instagram. So if you go follow me at the Alexis Quinn, you can see her there. Godric has been making an appearance this entire video. So at least you got some kitty time, I guess. But anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. I've missed making videos. Tell me in the comments, where are you at in your current whip? Have you read Ninth House? Have you read Hellbent? What did you think? I'd love to hear from you down there, or at the very least, drop an emoji to let me know you made it this far. But until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye!